influence. You can see this is how far the light bounces and goes, right?
Yeah.
And then up here is how intense that light is, right?
Mhm.
So I'll make it a little intense. I don't want to go too intense. I want to really look at my whites. I don't want to get them blown out, and then I it's hard for people to tell what's in that value there. And I'll start playing with the size of my light. And you'll see when I'm changing this source width and height, look what it's doing to my shadow down there, right? It's making it a
Yeah.
softer shadow, and then it's making it a harsher shadow, right?
Yeah.
So the larger the light is, the softer that shadow becomes. Now, it introduces some other things that we'll talk about in a moment, but for now, this is what I want. So I like this. I could even add color if I would like. So I could use the temperature and I could make it a warmer color. I could make it a cooler color. And this color in lighting tells a lot of story too, right?
Mhm.
So I'm going to turn on my other light and you'll see that just from small little tweaks, we're already having something a little more interesting than we had before, but we can do more, right? I haven't adjusted this one at all, but I did make the other light stronger than this one. And because this one is now stronger, it's creating contrast between the two, right?
Mm.
If I were to go and make this one stronger, then all of a sudden, right, that creates that like a whole different effect. But now these are kind of stealing away the attention, right? Because they're just so intense. If I were to make this duller than what it was, then we still get a nice effect, but we still get some contrast in between, which is nice. If I wanted to move this light around, try and see if I can create a little bit more contrast, I could do so. A nice thing to do sometimes is to turn off your other light and just work with one light at a time. Because from here, you can really see what your light is actually doing to your model, right? Before you mix them all together. So I can come in here and I could make this a little bit sharper. I could bring down its overall influence. And I'll just kind of look at how I want to tell this here. And when I introduce my other light back, now I have something that is a little more controlled. Now, whether I like that or not isn't really the question here. But what it does is it thus creates this interesting contrast of this kind of rim lighting that definitely kind of frames the character up a little bit more, right?
Mhm.
So finding a good place between those, um, finding where you still get all of the contrast that you're looking for, right? I
Yeah.
could pull this light away so then it creates contrast this way, right? So now I've got shadow on the face. And when we get to this point, this is where we introduce something called 3-point lighting, right? And the third point, all it is essentially your bounce, your fill, whatever you would like to call it. But it's just another light that, for the most part, once again, is just the opposite of the other two, right?
Mhm.
And what this is an even lower light. So it typically will fill in some of the darker areas. So for example here, if I take this light and I take my key light and I decrease its influence, so now that it's only hitting here, brighten it up a little bit more so it does this. I take the secondary light here and I increase this, but I move it back. When I go to add in an additional light, this light could come from like under, because we don't really have any lights that are coming under. And it can be very, 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 very low. To where it's doing just enough to fill in and give that bounce. See there on the face?
Yeah.
And we just kind of play with that, right? And essentially, that is a 3-point lighting system. Now, we already have a lighting system established with us in our scene. And you'll see here that it is a 3-point light. Even though there are 4 lights, there are only 3 that are affecting the character. The 4th one is just for anything in the background.
Mm.
And we have our key light, our secondary light, and our fill. And so all of those lights are what's kind of comprising this here. And if we were to take that light parent and we were to rotate that, you can see that we get a free little lighting system, right? And so we can rotate this and put this in a position to where we feel like we got something we want. And then we could just modify it from there, right? So for example, if I want something like, I want those lights to do something like this for me, and then I bring in my own light, right? And I start to use that light to kind of do what I want. I can get all of those extra stuff and the light that I have for free. Does that make sense? So I end up getting something like that. And that's basically from a 3-point lighting system.
Very cool.
So what I want you to do, take a moment, look up 3-point lighting portrait, right? And see, here's a great example, right? Key and rim, key, rim, and fill, and what it does, right? Same thing here. Key and rim, key, rim, and fill, right?
Yeah.
And I want you to just come up with the lighting that you like. You do not have to do a 3-point lighting, right? If you like that 2-point lighting because you like the contrast that it gives, and that's what you want to invoke and tell, then do so, right? If you like the 3-point lighting because it has more overall like light and color bounced into it, do so. But what I will say for right now is with the lights, let's refrain from using any color and let's just have pure light, okay?
Okay.
So go ahead and take the time, set that up, and when you're ready, let me know. We'll go over some technical things with the light because you'll notice that when introducing those rectangular lights, you get a lot of graininess. So don't worry about that kind of stuff. I'll help you understand that and make sense of that. But for now, just focus on one thing at a time.
Gotcha.
Then once you get through that, we're pretty much done. and then we'll go back to Maya. We'll start working on figuring out those blend shapes.
Mhm.
And that will pretty much be like our day. So pretty cool. You've now gotten through modeling and texturing, setting up materials, and setting up your object for rendering and lighting. It's pretty awesome. Because now all we need to do is focus on blend shapes and rig. Cool, Adrian. That's so cool, man. Thanks. You're welcome, Nate. I love when
Thank
you engage
you.
too.
I'm sorry, dude. I'm not. I'm a little sad today, but I still want to get stuff done. Not really
Well, you
thinking
gotta,
straight.
you gotta, you gotta ask yourself sometimes with those situations, because I feel that. Is it a bad day or is it a bad life?
Why does it matter?
Well, I think it matters a ton.
I mean, it's bad either way.
So it's a bad life.
No, like I have a pretty.
Okay,
I feel
so you're
like my
just
life
having a
is
bad day.
amazing.
So you're
Yeah.
just having a bad day. Okay. Bad days will pass, right?
Yeah.
So hold tight, hang in there. You get through it.
Now, what if it's a bad life then?
Well then, that sucks, bro.
Yeah. I'll never say that I have a bad life. Like, I don't even feel like I even deserve to say that. It's ridiculous, you know?
I mean, I'm not the one to say if it's ridiculous or not.
Yeah, that's right. You better not say anything. Nah, okay. I feel like that's pretty nice, right?
Yeah, man. And really, what I'm really hoping from all of this, right, is that you just see, like, I mean, like, it's not to, well, let me take a step back. It's not to scare you and be like, oh, yeah, there's all this shit I've got to do and I'm never going to be enough. It's to show you just like how amazing, like the fact that this stuff even happens. Like people come together to build out these projects, these huge games, because even something as simple as lighting is a huge thing, right?
Mhm.
I mean, you can spend your whole life just learning about, the techniques of lighting, color in lighting, what all kind of emotions it can evoke. And still, there will be more and more to learn. So this is to show you that like there are plenty of areas you can grow, and what's nice is when you're kind of fresh to a lot of those, there's so much room to grow. And when there's so much room to grow, a lot of times it can be a little easier. It's like when you're playing a game, and they give you like a bunch of classes, and they all start off at level 1, and you play like maybe the first class, and it's tough getting to level 20, but now everything's level 20, and then it's like, "Oh, hey, now you can go back and use like, a different class, but you can still do all the missions that you're doing now, and you somehow get through it, and then you go from like level 1 to 15. You're like, wow, it's so much quicker, right?
Uh,
It's kind of the same example here, right? As you grow one of those that you focus on, it'll be a lot easier to level up all the other ones because you'll have a foundation to fall on. You're a better player, you understand tricks and skills to kind of cheese the system, and it's the
cheese the
same thing.
system.
Yeah.
Imagine
And
cheesing a
it's
video game, bro. Weak.
yeah. But that's the thing, right? It's like you grow and you learn so much from that. So don't ever hesitate to just dive into something new on that, because you might find that that ends up helping you grow on other parts of your artistic journey.
Uh-huh.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, very nice. So we'll do a couple other things here. So one thing I want to show you about in Unreal is you'll notice when I hide my stuff, I get a different view than you, right? So like
Yeah.
I'm in that like dome, but when I hit the G key on my keyboard, it kind of changes.
Everything disappears.
Yeah. And so I'm going to show you how to kind of set some stuff up like that, just in case that's something you want to do. So the first thing I'm going to do before I move forward is, if I'm satisfied with everything I've done, I want to make sure that my camera doesn't change. So I'm going to lock my camera again. I'm going to right click it, go to transform, and lock my camera, just so I don't have to end up redoing any work because I accidentally moved my camera.
Okay.
Awesome.
Why does it not always say on top? Stop doing that.
Cool. So I've got all of that set up.
They left the house but forgot to turn off the alarm, so it's going off. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. Yep.
Alright, never mind, they got it. Alright, so what am I doing?
Sorry, I'm fixing some things real quick. Oh. Okey-doke. Okay. So I was going to show you how I was doing what I was doing by hiding all of those things and stuff. So, what you can do in Unreal is some really fun little things. So I can select that little dome, which is the SM half sphere background. And if I type here in the details panel, I type hidden, I can check actor hidden in game, which allows us to see this actor in the editor, but not in the actual game, which is really cool. And so I can check that on. And then I can also come up here and I can say, hey, affect indirect lighting while hidden. If I don't have that on, see what it does to my Mega Man, how it's like darkening.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because that dome isn't affecting that indirect bounce lighting, right? When
Mm.
it's hidden. But I
Wow,
can
yeah.
turn this on to where it can affect that while it's hidden.
Wow, yeah. And like hit G
Pretty
and
cool.
it just disappears, everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because G is game mode. It's essentially what you'll see in the game, right?
Yeah. Very nice, very nice.
Very nice.
And then you have like that the air glow behind it.
Hmm.
Cool. Just huh. Alright then.
And so I have that, which is pretty nice. And it's essentially this is essentially it. So what's nice about this is if I go to my art station, you can see I actually use this lighting scenario quite a bit. It's just really easy,
Yeah, I recognize it.
right? That's the same thing. I just threw a little extra card in the background that made it look like it was God rays.
There's a plane. So like fake god rays.
Hmm.
Gotcha. Mm.
I mean, that's essentially it, right? You can see I've got that rim lighting.
Yeah, but
It's a
blue.
color. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've got it kind of from below, and then I've got these God rays up here, so it kind of almost looks like he's floating up or something, right? Same thing here, right? And I'm just thinking about colors, right? I'm thinking about the colors of the object. That was weird. Thinking of colors of the object, thinking colors of the background and stuff like that. In my earlier ones, I had a more bluer background, which really made him pop out a lot, and I liked that a lot. And then I don't know why, but for some reason, towards the end, just shifted it to just kind of being more monochrome, so it matched a little bit more. And it really just goes. Really, you get to the point where you're just like, oh, I just do this because I feel this, and I like the way this feels. Um, but there's reasoning behind it all. So,
Yeah.
see, same thing here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the nice thing is that you could start pumping them out and producing, these same kind of little shots pretty quickly. And I think that's super duper helpful. Now, as we kind of explore more lighting and stuff like that in a later point, we'll talk about other things. So we'll start getting into like material parameter surfaces and stuff like that, and like how to look dev a scene and kind of get the feel of what you're going for. But for now, I think this is a great place to stop. And it's a great place to start and to continue to work on. Okay.
Okay.
So we'll save our scene, and we're gonna do one small little thing, and then we're done with this, and then we're into Maya. And what I want you to do is I want you to set up a render. And so I'm going to show you how to go about this so that we can render out all the shots that we just talked about. Cool?
Mm-hmm. Very, very cool.
And the reason we're doing this is because I want you to post this afterwards. This is a great, great place to be at for posting, right? Because you've gotten your textures. You've done a first pass on your modeling, you've done a first pass on your textures, you've done a first pass on your lighting, you've done a first pass on all of your composition setup, right? And so this is a great, great position to be in, because now what you can do is you can throw that up and go, hey, everybody, please take a look at this and tell me what you think. And they might go, oh, I like the model, I like the textures, but the lighting needs some work. Or I like all of this, but the composition, maybe you can come up with something a little better, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this is a great place to be, because while you're getting feedback on that, you're working on other things, right?
Yeah.
And so you're staying busy, you're feeling great, and it's awesome. So let's get a render setup. So if I hold control and I middle mouse scroll, I can move this sequencer to essentially zoom in on the timeline. And this will allow me to see frame for frame, right? And so I can see that I have 5 frames that I'm working with. And I'm going to grab that little red line, and I'm going to move that red line straight to my last frame. And this is going to be the sequence that I render out. So go ahead and do that for me.
Okay.
While you do that, I'll be right back.
All right.
How we doing?
I'll do it.
You
Messing with
making some
stuff.
adjustments? Okay.
Yeah.
And the nice thing is how I like to work is I typically like to work in like block out stages too, right? I like to look at even passes like this as primary, secondary, and tertiary, right?
Mhm.
A lot of times what you can end up finding yourself doing is you spend a lot of time trying to refine things because you're just in this current step and you're kind of feeling it, right? But then you go and you make larger changes down the road, and then you realize, oh, I spent a lot of time kind of tweaking these things early on when I really could have just waited because I was still figuring things out, right?
Mhm.
So it's kind of like putting a puzzle together, right? It's like, oh, you could find like two pieces that fit together, and then you could be like, oh, I'm going to find all the pieces that fit around that. Or you can just start finding all the pieces that fit together, and eventually you'll be like, okay, I can kind of connect the pieces here and fill up the puzzle, right?
Yeah. How do I like that's one of these. How do I take out this transition here between? Do I like break this?
Yeah, like where do you want to break it?
Like remove this line? Like can I just break it in between here? To where
Well,
it's
what do you
like
mean?
it stop it like I just want the camera to be here and I just want it to like spin
Hmm.
and then like I just want these other camera positions to be separate. Do you see how it transitions to like it slowly oops, it slowly moves
Hmm.
in? Like I don't want that to happen.
Oh, well, that's because that's what I was saying. Oh, hello, kitty cat. Hello. Hi. You have forged your way into my life. Um, that's because if you look at your transform of your camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
Hit the little drop down on it and hit the drop down of the location. If you start to scroll through that, you'll see those numbers start to change,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's because where you have that first frame you keyed there of the
Mm-hmm.
back of the head, right? Is because you keyed that there. So what it's doing is it's interpolating between the two, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't want that and you want it to stay in that first position all the way
Mm-hmm.
up till this point, you need
Mm-hmm.
to copy all those keys. So select, drag all those keys on the left hand and Control C. And then go to the frame that you want to paste that to.
Okay.
So if it's the before this, then hit Control V, right? And
Mm.
now it won't do it,
Gotcha.
right?
Cool.
Because again, it's interpolating between that.
Yeah, I forgot the word. Interpolating. Hmm. Okay.
You get everything done?
Want to add one more angle.
What are you looking for?
Just going to unlock the camera.
Go to transform. Yeah.
There we go. Like, where is it? Close up. I should have like one like back of the head, side, that side. All right, that's good enough for right now. Spin. Okay, so what were you saying to do?
So we're going to take that red line and we're going to bring it all the way to the last frame that you have keyed.
There we go. Those, then I can delete the rest of these for now. Okay.
So take the red line.
Is this the red? No, it's red box. Red line?
So you got one to the left there, right?
There's
But we're looking
green.
for the one to the right.
Yeah, one to the right. There's
Keep
no
going.
red line.
Nope. Keep zooming out.
Oh, gotcha. Then you did. And then you wanted me to
You just
grab the
move it.
red line and then move it?
Yep. Yep. Go up top.
Oh,
There you go.
gotcha. I was like, why is it not letting me grab it? Okay,
Cool.
cool.
Now, there's a quicker way to do that. If you go to the frame that you want, right?
Uh-huh.
You can hit the little red bracket down here in the toolbar, and that will set that. Because essentially what that is doing is it's setting the end of the playback. So if I were to hit play, you're going to see it's just going to keep repeating and repeating and repeating within that, right? Cool.
Yeah, mine isn't repeating, but that's cool.
Yeah. If it doesn't repeat, you can see there's a little loop.
Oh, there we go.
Now, again, if we wanted to have an actual video of a turnaround, we would want to have more frames in between, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we would want to get our timing down. But for
Yeah.
now, we're not focused on that.
Mm-hmm.
So now what we're going to do is we're going to hit the little clapper in the sequencer toolbar up here. And that's going to open up our movie render queue. Now the movie render queue is what allows us to render out images or movies from Unreal. So we have an output, settings, and a job. And the job here is just saying that it's that sequencer, the sequence that we named, and mine was called Sequence Bomberman, and that is the job, right? You can have multiple sequences in here, so multiple different renders. The output is just saying where it's going. And if you click on it, it'll pull up a window in your Explorer showing you exactly where that render is going. And in the settings, if we click on that, it'll open up the settings box. And that's the one that we want. So go ahead and open that up.
Okay. Okay.
Mm-mm, that's not what I clicked.
Is it?
Nope.
Where did you click?
We'll click on things, figure it out.
The settings.
We got job, settings, and output.
Yeah, I just don't see where settings is. Job settings, the configs. There we go.
There it is. Okay. Because the nice thing with this is what we can do is we can essentially make a template. And so that's what this config for our settings is.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see here we have three things. We have a JPEG sequence, 8-bit, deferred rendering, and an output. Now on our output, you can see here it says our output directory, our file name format, and our resolution. Right? 1920 by 1080. If I wanted to do a 4K, I could do a multiplication symbol by using an asterisk and then hitting ×2 essentially, and that will bring it up to 3840, right? And I could do it again. So you can even do basic math in here, which is cool. I'm gonna output mine in 4K. I think for your computer, it might be good to just stick with 1080. Still a good resolution.
Yeah.
On the
4K,
output directory,
8K resolution. Okay.
yep.
Yeah.
But on the output directory, we can hit the little three dots, and this can allow us to change where we want that to output. So if we don't want it to output in the folder that it had by default, we could change it somewhere else. I'm going to leave mine to default, but you're welcome to change yours.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if we were doing like a clip or something like that, we could change our frame rate. So if we wanted to do something more of a film frame rate, we could do 24 FPS. We could do game frame rate 30 or 60 or 120, 240, whatever, right? We're not worried about that because we're not going to be using it that way right now. But just so you kind of know that it's there. We could also pick a custom playback range. So if we wanted to just render out a couple of frames to do like a test, we could always do that. We're not going to do that either. We're just going to output what we've defined as what's going to be output. But those options are there, okay? We don't really need to mess with deferred rendering here. We're not going to touch that at all. But what we are going to do is we're going to go up to settings up at the top, and you'll see that we have all of these different little options.
Mm.
We have anti-aliasing, burn-ins, camera and color output, console variables, game overrides, high resolution. We have all these different types of exports. We could do PNG sequences. We could export out audio. We could do straight up MP4s. We could do all kinds of stuff, right? I'm going to turn mine to a PNG sequence, and I'm going to remove the JPEG one just by selecting it and hitting delete. So now I'm going to output a PNG instead of a JPEG. I'm also going to hit the settings, and I'm going to do game override. This is just going to make it to where this is a more cinematic output by overriding a lot of game features and making Unreal more of a virtual production output. And that's pretty much it. So go ahead and repeat what I just did there. Add a PNG sequence, remove the JPEG one, and add your game overrides. And then we'll move forward.
On a PNG sequence. Remove game override.
Nope, remove JPEG.
Oh.
If you hit the delete key, does it remove? There you go. And then we're going to add a game override. Cool.
Added PNG game override and deleted thing. Okay, yeah.
So now what we can do is we can save everything we've just done here. We can save it as a template by hitting this little save up here and saving it as a preset.
Okay.
And then it'll ask us where we want to save this preset. So for me, I'm just going to put in the folder animations. You may have a folder named that. If you don't, just make one.
Okay.
And you can see here that it has a name convention for itself,
Mhm.
which is pending movie pipeline primary config, right?
Yeah.
Now you went ahead and saved yours, but for me, I'm going to change that name. So I'm just going to do MPPC for movie pipeline, blah, 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 primary config, right?
Mhm.
And then I'm just going to name this what I want, and I'm going to name this PNG sequence. And so now if I hit accept in that settings, if I were to go back and do like a different render or something like that, I could come up here and I would now see my template here.
The where? Go into. Oh yeah, the template. And whenever you open it.
Right?
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
And you'll see that it's changing these settings. And so this is a really nice way to kind of set something up and have it available and ready for you. So I'm going to do file save all so that I save all the stuff that I've just put my hard work into. And then I'm just going to render local. And if I've done everything correctly, it'll render out however many frames that I had set, and it will render them out as PNG sequences, meaning that it'll be 1 picture, 2 picture, 3 picture, 4 picture, 5 picture. And it won't be just one file.
Yeah. Really cool.
I'm gonna stop streaming for a moment so my computer doesn't explode.
Yeah.
And when we're done, we'll look at our output because we're gonna notice something kind of interesting. So let me know when you're done rendering. And it usually takes a while for the first one. Afterwards, it should be a lot better.
So yeah, you selected it. You have the config
Nope.
selected.
No, go to your settings.
Yeah.
Um,
And
no,
then
no.
here.
Say accept down there. And you'll see now under your settings, you'll see your MPPC PNG sequences there now.
Yeah.
So now you're good. So now you can say render local.
No. Do the same.
Like I said, it'll probably take a hot minute.
Yeah. Yeah.
But like I said, it's usually the longest the first time. Afterwards, it goes pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So I got a Switch too.
Oh,
Yeah, I was super lucky.
is it worth it?
I wouldn't say right now, but it's definitely a good console. Like it's a huge upgrade from the Switch. Like I'd say it's about equivalent to a PS5, but as a handheld, which is really cool. It's definitely, I think it's definitely stronger than a Steam Deck, which I have a Steam Deck. I love my Steam Deck, but there's definitely like there's some power underneath it. Um, Only problem is there's really only one Switch 2 game right now, and that's Mario Kart. So until Donkey Kong comes out, which is next month, I'm just playing Switch games. Still with me?
Yeah, I'm still with you. It's
Are you
just,
depressed because I got a Switch 2 and you don't?
yeah.
That sucks, bud. Well, while we're waiting, you want to talk about what's going on with you, bud? I'm assuming it's just all the work stuff.
No, it's not. Well, I guess, yeah, that too, but like, it's always the work stuff. Um, just other things bothering me. It's nothing too bad though. Not big of a deal.
Well, I'm here if
Uh,
you want to talk.
I mean, it's done now.
Okay. All right. So go ahead and stream your screen for me, and let's pull up the pictures and let's see what they look like.
All right. Share my screen. Oh, this is all the photos here.
All right, let's check them out.
I just got the normal spit. Well, that doesn't seem right. Why are they all blurry though? These are fine. They're not fine.
Yep. True that.
What the heck is
True
wrong
that.
with this one?
Right?
The last one ended up fine. Then all the other ones messed up. I have a feeling I didn't mess up. I feel like I did something wrong. What did I do wrong? I don't even know what I did wrong.
All right. So you didn't do anything wrong. I led you astray,
Mm,
and there was a good reason why I did. And it's because there's some additional things that goes on, and we want to look into this and we want to learn about this stuff.
mhm,
So what you're seeing is motion blur,
mm.
and Unreal has motion blur on by default. And so we want to remove motion blur.
Okay, how do I do
So
that?
if you select your post process volume, and yeah, there you go. We start digging into our motion blur, or I'm sorry, our post process volume, we can see we have a lot of cool little options here.
Mm,
And a lot of these do things. So before we move forward to straight the motion blur, let's take a time to look at some of the cool features that the post process is offering us. So I'm going to stream mine again.
by default, but not by default like that. Keyframe for property. Okay.
And we can play with all kinds of stuff. We can play with bloom. Bloom is fun. And bloom essentially is what's creating this kind of like glow, halo around the character, right?
Mm,
Right? We could change it from our standard Gaussian formulation to a convolution one. This is what you would normally see in a more sci-fi film, um, is a convolution bloom.
gotcha.
We could change our exposure, so we could make it to where all the lights are brighter, or we can make the whole scene darker, right? We could add some chromatic aberration, right? And make it to where it's like, ooh, fringing and doing all these cool psychedelic things, right? We could come into the image effects and we could add a stronger vignetting. So the darker around the edge of the screen, right? We could add a sharpen effect so that all of the textures are sharper.
Okay.
We can do all these fun little features, and these are really nice. They're super helpful. We can also come in and we could change the temperature of the scene, right? So we could come in and say, oh, we want to just change the whole temperature of the scene. We don't want to change the lighting colors. We're just going to put a film over it, right? A tint. So we could do all that kind of stuff. We could play with specific things like saturation of our global scales, or we could come in and we could change the saturation of our shadows, right? We could come in and say, oh, we want our shadows to be bluer, and it will add blue, right? And saturate those. Maybe we want them to be more contrasty. So maybe we just want to use an overall dial, right?
Mhm.
These are all post-process effects. Now, I'm fairly certain we've talked about these before,
Yeah.
but they're super helpful. And some things that we didn't talk about is you can actually turn off certain features in Unreal. You can turn them on and off and try different things. One in particular for you, if you'll scroll down to Global Illumination tab in the post process, we'll start to kind of play around with some stuff that we have there because currently it's set to screen space.
Okay.
So let's pull up yours.
Under global illumination, or what was
Mhm.
it under?
Yep,
Okay.
in your post process, Global Illumination. Keep scrolling down. Nope,
So,
don't type it in. Scroll down. See, global illumination. See that it's set to screen space?
Mhm.
So let's change that. Let's change that from screen space to lumen. Look what it did to your scene.
Mm.
See how you have a little bit more bounce light now?
Mm.
Right? Pretty cool.
Mhm. Very cool.
So that's how I'm getting mine, right? That's my screen space, and that's my lumen, and it's giving me all of that bounce lighting. I can do the same thing with my reflections too. So I could go from lumen to screen space or screen space to lumen.
Mm.
Pretty cool.
Cool. Yeah.
So this also allows you to control just certain features within Unreal. So the post-process volume is pretty powerful and it's pretty cool. Now, if we scroll down a little bit more under the rendering features, we're going to see motion blur. Keep going.
Rendering features. Okay.
And if we select the amount and we scroll that down to 0, we have now effectively turned off motion blur. So when we go to render again, we're going to have a different result. So go ahead, you can stop streaming, go ahead and render again. And let's see what results you get once it's done.
All right.
It's done pretty quick this time, right?
Yeah, very quickly. It's not so blurry. Awesome.
Is it still blurry?
No.
Right? That's because we've removed motion blur. Pretty cool.
Very cool. Very cool.
So we have now effectively set up our render template. We've set up our lighting. We've set up our model, texturing, and we're pretty much set to go. So now we just get to do all the tough, interesting new parts, which is figuring out the morph targets, figuring out our rig, or I'm sorry, our bound skeleton, and then figuring out a control rig. Probably having some kind of simple poses or animation for the character, and that's that, right?
That is that.
So I would say that we are now halfway through the project.
Halfway through the project.
Yep,
What's the other half?
what I just described.
Oh, gotcha.
And that's because, again, we got to make our morph targets. So all the eye stuff, we got to get all of that functional in Unreal. We got to get our skeleton for our character bound to the mesh. And then we've got to fix all our skin weights, export all that back out, reattach all of the stuff we've done here to that, and then set up a control rig within Unreal so that we're allowed to animate it and pose it. So that's still quite a bit of stuff to do. And the reason that part's probably going to take a little bit long, or just about as long as everything else we've done, is because, well, I've done all of those things, but I'm not good at them. Because it's typically things I don't do. So it'll be a little bit of a challenge for both of us moving forward. So you get to kind of see how I would approach this in a more technical way of like, how do I, as just a artist who's learning these things, break this down to where it's palatable for me to grow and learn. And I think that'll be helpful and effective because you've made some comments of like, wow, I don't understand how you tackle these things and break them down. That's really cool. So
Yeah.
maybe this will be an instance where you get to see that and you'll get to learn. Does that work for you?
Yeah.
The nice thing is once we have that all established, it'll be marginally reduced. We'll be able to get through another character way faster of equivalent quality. So when we go to make our custom Bomberman, it should go pretty quickly. Now,
Mm.
how quickly that isn't the same as my quickness and versus your quickness, right? But you will be much faster. Now, that may be that it still takes a while, but you will have gotten through it quicker. Okay?
Yeah.
You
Okay.
got good notes. You've got a little bit of experience. I think things are clicking and you're making sense of some stuff. I understand that you're not feeling emotionally great right now. Um, but the knowledge is there and I think it'll do good.
Definitely, definitely.
So we can now save Unreal. We can close down Unreal. And we now have a little bit of time to jump into Maya and start looking at some Maya stuff. Give me a second. I need to make sure I'm grabbing the right file. So go ahead and get Maya open, bud.
Mm.
All right. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to model out all of those facial expressions. But we might just start with the first one just so we can get this system working and we can figure out any caveats that we're probably going to end up finding. Does that make sense?
Mhm. Yeah.
And so essentially, what I want us to do is I just want us to pick a facial expression to model that out, and then from there, we will get all of that set up for our morph targets. Okay?
Okay.
So I have a little bit of a head start on this. And so I'm going to kind of keep moving forward on my end, but I'm going to trust you to kind of guide yourself on this one for a little bit, okay?
Okay.
I think you'll do fine.
What, weren't there like a whole long thing of like all the different eyes from the previous
Yes, there
one?
was.
I don't
Yeah.
know where they are.
I might have gotten rid of it on accident. Because I don't have it in mine either.
Hmm.
But we can always grab the model or download the model again and just go from there.
Yeah, so I'm gonna do. Where are all the faces? Oh wait, no, we did get into. It's right. We took it into. It was in Blender.
Doing all right.
Yeah, just getting this FPX into Maya.
Nice.
Why is it doing this like weird glitchy thing? The lighting and stuff?
Oh, it's your clipping plane on your camera. Remember how to select that?
Yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, then I just like try my best to recreate this. The eyes.
Yeah, I would just pick one. Focus on one, and we'll work our way up.
Alright, then.
Because we want to make sure that these are functional and they are working, right? So if we go and we make all of these, and then they end up not even being like we can't figure out how to make them work properly, that'll be kind of frustrating, right?
Yeah. Is there a way I can select these and match the height of this one?
Anyway, you can select them and match the height. You don't want to change all that because we want to keep all of that, remember? Um, we want to use the one that we used for our game. So make sure that you've got the correct one you're working on.
Gotcha. Okay.
And then on top of that, if you want those to kind of match more of your game model, then you'll just scale the other ones up and not your game model down. You want to keep all of it the same because that was stuff that you were working with.
Yeah. That's what I was wondering is how I scale up the other ones to match the game one height. But do I press to select all of an object?
I'm sorry.
I said, what button do I press to select all of an object?
Right click and hold and go to object mode. Are you wanting to select all the faces?
Yeah.
You could just drag and select, or you can just double click a face.
Wait, what
Hit
tool
W,
am I in?
go to face, and just double click a face, or do that. Yeah, either or.
Select or double click. Oh. Right, cool. Trying to do that. Just mirror it later. Where it is. Just gonna focus on one. How do I mirror this but not mirror it the way?
Sorry.
Hmm. Or the way you mirror something, but not the normal mirror. That like that old way of mirroring. Like hmm. How do I mirror this?
Well, how do you want to mirror it?
Uh, I don't know. I don't really. It doesn't really matter to me how I mirror it. I just want to mirror it. Because it's not like the normal mirror because it'll just flip it over. I kind of want to like duplicate it and move it over.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's a better way to do that than just duplicating it and just moving it over. Because like, hmm.
Okay, so you can go to mesh and then do mirror.
Yeah, but then it doesn't mirror the way I want it to. So I did that. I was messing around with these settings, but like none of them did what I
So you can always
wanted.
go up to those little, like, the three lines up in the top right of that, and you can reset your settings. And then from there, if you're still having some issues, it's probably because your center point for your mirror is off.
Okay.
So we can control Z until we don't have a mirror. And then we could go into object mode and select our mesh
Mm-hmm.
and hit W, bring up our move tool. Let's hold W and left click in the open.
Hold W left click. Let that hold W left click. Nothing's happening.
Okay, well, just double click the move tool over on the left hand side to pull up the tool settings. And you can see here that you have your axis orientation set to object mode, and you can change it to world. That'll change the gizmo to now where it's aligned with that, right? So now
Mm-hmm.
you can kind of move that how you'd like.
How do I get it to rotate? See how they're rotating together? How can I make them rotate together, but like to where they rotate this way?
Yeah. So Control Z, and then select the two and merge them. So go up to Mesh Combine, and then go into Face Mode. Select one of them. Now just double click it. So you select all the faces. There you go. And then over on the toolkit, so up in the top right hand, activate your toolkit, which is the cube with the hammer. Then we can turn on symmetry. We'll do world. And then if you rotate, double click them again, or just one of them. Yeah. Something's off with your symmetry then. Do object. No. Let's go back to face mode.
I keep doing that. Okay.
And change the symmetry to object. Object X.
Do I need to like mirror it first and then join?
No, it should work.
Oh, do I need to like change my rotation like this?
You can. Yeah. So yeah, if you go to, I think, component.
Okay, component. Just leave it on.
Something weird's going on there. I don't know what's going on. It's not doing things that it's supposed to be doing.
Hmm.
So like if you see my screen, if I were to double click this, see how it's got both of them.
Yeah.
See how they rotate.
Yeah.
I don't know why yours isn't doing that. So looks like you'll just have to manually move it. Sometimes it be that way. Now, what you'll want to do is you'll notice that your pivot for that is off, right?
Yeah.
So if you go up to modify, you can center pivot.
Center pivot.
That didn't do it either. What the fuck? Um. Oh, I know. I think this is an old thing. Hit D, and then out in the open, left click, and then hit W, and then go to face mode and double select. There we go. Sometimes your pivot won't reset, and so if you do D to change your pivot, right, and then if you just click out in the open space, it'll reset that pivot.
Gotcha. So like for me, I think I like set my pivot here because everything else goes to it, but except my rotate. And I think I did something to make it do that. I don't know what
Oh
exactly I
yeah,
did.
well, with your rotate, you still have it set to some stuff. So if you hold R and left click,
Oh, left click.
you still had some things that we had changed in there. So if you go over to the left-hand side where your tool is for rotate, you double click it, you can reset that tool.
Scale
And
is
now it should
rotate is E. Oh, rotate tool,
reset the tool up at the top.
reset tool. Here
There
we
you
go.
go. There you go.
Okay.
You
Wait,
might
that
try to
mean
turn the
that?
symmetry on now. That might be what the problem was.
Yeah. Yeah, it
There you go.
was. All right, cool. Wait, is there a way I can change the settings so where they rotate the same way, so the opposite? Hmm.
You might try world symmetry,
So,
right hand side. Right hand side.
right hand side? Oh, talking about the symmetry.
No? Okay. Are you trying to make it to where they're just like spiraling in place?
Yeah, I want to rotate to where they're more slanted.
I think for that one, you're gonna have to
Yeah, so
hold R and then left click. And then you're gonna need to do it by component.
isn't R the scale tool?
Or I'm sorry, not R.
Yeah, E. Yeah.
E.
Uh,
And do it by component.
yeah. Wow, that's so cool that this has a tool to do that.
Hmm.
That's so nice.
That it is. Because what component does is it takes whatever you have selected and takes the average of that, and then that is the direction that it uses. Object does it based off of the object, so the object mode, and then world is based off of the world scene.
Yeah, no, yeah.
Hope all that makes sense.
Object, world, yeah. So that's the reason why.
Component's really nice, but it can get really confusing sometimes. But component's really nice if you have like a couple of verts and you select them and you want the pivot to be at the center of those vert selection.
Mhm. Okay, I got one of the eyes done.
Nice.
So after I do it once, but then it messes up and it doesn't do it again.
It does what? I'm sorry.
Like if I try to rotate it again, it then does this. Even though it's still set to component.
Does what?
So yeah, it said rotate. It's at a slant. Do I need to like reset it? The pivot? Oh, it's not doing that anymore?
You might change your symmetry back to world. No,
Hmm.
I'm not sure. Yeah, I don't know. I do not know. You can always reset it and then set it back to component, but I mean, it should just work from that. It could be that. Oh, it looks like it's moving things. Ooh. Okay, stop. Stop. Reset. Go up to save. Save your project, because usually when it starts acting funky like that, it's about to crash. And then go into object mode. And go up to edit. And delete by type. History. Okay. Good. All right, now try it again. And don't select both, just select one. You don't need to select both. Interesting. Okay. Okay, I see what's going on. So double click it. Double click one of them.
Yeah, it's got a little messed up. Okay, so if I go double click one of them.
And then move it. Okay. Interesting. I don't know, kid. I don't know. You can send this to me and I can take a look at it, but I don't know what you're doing that's giving you such a different result.
I don't know why it keeps messing up.
Yeah, I mean, you're welcome to send the Maya file to me and I can take a look at it, but I don't really know how to help you from here.
Gotcha. Yeah, why is the
I just
pivot
have to take a look at.
all the way down there?
Yeah,
Didn't
I
I
don't know why
just set the
your
pivot?
pivot keeps changing. Again, if you hit Control Z
Yeah,
and hit D,
D.
and then yep, click on the open space, reset your pivot.
Okay, clicking, left clicking.
Okay, all right, awesome. And then just get out of pivot mode. So
Oh,
hit D again, and then try and rotate it. Yeah, I don't know.
that's so
Made no sense
weird.
to me. Yep,
Why is the pivot down there?
no idea.
I mean, I fixed the issue by going here. Yeah, we reset everything. And I keep having to reset the tool. I don't know what I'm doing that's making me need to reset it to fix it.
You can always close Maya down and open it back up.
True. True. Component. Click those.
Sometimes it just be that way.
And that. Yeah. And then they start rotating opposite. So then if I do this component, so both of them, and they're both still doing opposite. Why did I do opposite? Hmm. What did you say it was to make them rotate together? It was component or was it something else?
Yeah, it was component.
Yeah, I turned component on and off, but it's not doing it. Hmm. Yeah, component isn't doing anything now. It's interesting.
is true. It is interesting indeed.
Yeah, you like look at this. I like rotate it and it rotates
Mhm.
together. But then if I rotate it, let go, and try to rotate it again, it just completely forgets.
Yeah, yeah, that's super funky. Looks like a bug to me.
Yeah. Huh. 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 Man. Yeah, it's replaced well enough. Oh, it's the top camera all the way up there? Huh. It's cute. Alright, so I did the one eyes, and now what?
Hmm?
I did the
Oh, yeah.
eyes.
So now you're pretty much at the phase where I'm at, which is trying to figure out how to set these morph targets up. So I am slowly working on.
Gotcha.
So I'll kind of just talk about what I'm doing. So what I'm doing here is I'm going up to Window, Animation Editor, and I'm pulling up the Shape Editor. That allows me to create morph targets, blend shapes, whatever you want to call them, shape keys.
Hmm. Says you went to where for the morph targets?
Windows,
Windows,
Animation Editors,
animation editors.
and Shape Editor.
Oh God, and it's crazy too because it's like, man, it would not take me this long to model this in Blender, but man, doing it in Maya, I'm like, oh, what is the technical side of stuff? Like, gosh, what are the buttons? What are the things? And it's like, gosh, dang it, dude.
Gosh dang it, dude.
And then shape editors. I've been messing with shape keys in Blender a lot.
Mhm.
So, and now it's like now we're trying to figure out how to do it in Maya.
Yeah. But you can see that I've already got it done on my end. I'm just setting it all up now. So now it goes
You,
in, it goes out, it goes in, it goes out, it goes in, it goes out.
gotcha.
So I just got to set up the other one.
Cool.
See? Na-na-na-na. So now that I have that, the test here is to get that working in Unreal. So I'm going to get you to the same spot that I'm at. I don't know if this is going to be the correct method moving forward. There's a lot of ways to do this. And that's where we really want to start kind of like testing some things. So from here, I might do more exploring when like I have free time. So I may not always be like on um like here with you because I don't have all the answers for what we're about to do moving forward. So I might explore a lot offline, and I recommend that you do too. You might be able to find some methods that I don't know about, and we'll be able to figure this out together. Okay?
Okay. And it's just the right. We're just trying to figure out like what exactly are we trying to figure out? The shape keys, right? Or shape.
Yeah. So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to go about doing the shape keys the way we want, right?
Yeah.
To where they produce what we need, which is that we want those um, we want those eyes to essentially react the way that we want, right? And we want to set this up in Unreal so that we can trigger them in Unreal, right?
Mm,
So essentially, what I want to do in Unreal is when these eyes are up, these other ones are in the head, right? And then when these go in, I want these other ones to pop in, right? But I want
yeah.
them to do it at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And so that's the part we're going to figure out is the logic on how to set that up.
Yeah. I do it
I
all the
think
time
overall,
for like oh
what?
God. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Sorry, I was just gonna say I do it all the time for like Blender and Unity, but I don't know how to do it for Maya
Awesome.
and ZBrush.
Well, I don't, so that means that you have a foundation there. So how do you go about it?
Like, you want me to like how would I like explain it? I mean, I feel like it's better to
Well,
like
I
put
mean, like
yeah.
how do you trigger in Blender and Unity? How do you trigger that to where it's like if one shape is on, the others are off?
Well, like for that, you would just make shape keys and then you would export it with the
Hmm.
shape keys, and then it'll appear as blend shapes on the mesh, and then you can control them through well, you would make an animation in Unity of
Hmm.
it being on and off, and then you would take those animations and set them to parameters. So then when you select animation, you'll have the animations linked to where one mesh is showing, then like 0 is off, or like 0 is on, then 1 is off, and you would have multiple animations, and then you can combine them to where when you set it up where you press a button, then it'll play the animation. Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, that's essentially what we're going to do in Unreal.
Yeah.
Like,
So,
that's pretty much almost word for word.
oh, that's cool that they do it very
So,
similar.
see,
Hmm.
there it is. You know how to go about this method.
Yeah, and it's really cool
Now,
too.
mhm.
Oof.
Now, obviously, it's not going to be that simple and smooth because the
Yeah,
thing is that you
I don't
don't
know.
know all the terminology for Unreal.
Yeah, and then, like technically, like how do you do that? And it's just like, oh
Mhm.
god.
But the nice thing is, you know what it looks like, right?
Hmm.
You've done it in something else, so you know it's possible. You know your direction. You know what you're trying to achieve. And that's pretty good because then from there, you're just translating. You're just trying to figure out, how do I do that?
How do I do that?
Instead
Idiot.
of, I don't even know what I'm supposed to be doing. And I don't even know if it's possible.
Hmm.
That's a big difference.
Yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Man, I can't believe it's already been 3 hours. What the heck?
Yep.
It's going on for in 30 minutes. God dang it.
Yep. So I'm going to run through this real quick. Um, just so you're
Yeah.
kind of caught up with me. And I'm going to do one little simple thing and then we'll probably end it for tonight. But we're just going to end it on to see if this actually works, which I'm
I
fairly
mean,
certain
like,
it
if
does.
it's similar to Blender, I mean, Blender is really simple in Blender. You just select it, you just select the scale. You would like set it to 1, set the scale, and then whenever you, well, like usually there's a base. Oh God, it's so much different though. Ah, man. Does that mean that it's on? I noticed that you were messing with it. You had like red. So like usually it would be like 0 would be like a normal, and then you would just like do whatever you want to it. So let's say I just wanted to move inside the head, and
Mhm.
then skill 1. Uh, wait, no, this would be 0. Then 1 would be that. So then whenever I go back and forth, then you could view it. But like in here, it doesn't do it like that at all.
Mhm.
Ugh, there's
I mean,
like
you're pretty close. You're just
maybe
you're
add
missing
target.
you're missing a step
Yeah, I am. I don't know what that step is.
because even Blender does this. I really like shape keys in Blender. They're really easy to work with and make sense of.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like Maya's can be a little difficult, even though I do feel Maya's is way more extensive and more powerful. It's so confusing sometimes. Um, but the thing is when you're doing any kind of shape key edits in Blender, you're not in object mode, right? You're typically in edit mode or
Yeah,
sculpt mode or whatever it may be, right?
yeah.
So that's the equivalent of Maya's face mode, right? Vertex mode, edge mode. So if you were to select all of those and then move
God,
them,
I keep wanting to press A to select all. Oh my God.
mhm,
No, stop me, Jesus Christ. So if I'm in that F, uh, face mode, that, and then you were like, what did you say it was? We're doing the Windows animation shape editor. And then I'm gonna move these.
So yeah, delete all those.
Huh.
And while in face mode, create a blend shape. And then right click on that, add a target. Now do your stuff.
What is this one? Ah,
See? It's really no different.
yeah, it isn't. Cool.
This is why when people are always like bitching and moaning about like program to program to program, right? It's like, sure, there are some things that are a little different. And sure, some programs do some things better than others. But really it's not really a lot of times that they even do something better. It's that it's just your way of thinking. It just clicked with you. It made sense. But the
Hmm.
thing is a lot of times they all do pretty much the same thing. And this is one of those cases where this may be more of like a B type, thinker, and Blender may be more of an A type thinker. And you just kind of fit more in that A mold. Not that that's really a thing, but like I hope that makes sense.
Yeah.
So try not to be like, oh, this. Be like, okay, I got to figure this out. Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I want to figure out how to do this, but um, surely there's a way to do this, so I'm going to find a way to get around it, right?
Yeah.
It's the same thing with me in Unity, right? Or me in Blender. Like, I recognize that both applications can do everything that I want them to do. It's just that Maya and ZBrush and a bunch of other applications for me make a little more sense. And even then, there are definitely things within those applications that I don't try and do and replicate from other applications that I use because, well, something made more sense in the other application. Now, eventually, I am able to connect like, oh, okay, I could totally hard surface model in ZBrush because now I understand all of these concepts. But I didn't have anybody guiding me through that. I just had to come to a natural point where it was like, oh, I realized I was holding myself back on this because I didn't think that way.
What are you supposed to do about that? And it's like, oh, you didn't think that way. Well, just
Well, I
gotta
mean,
think
nothing.
outside this. Try it. Yeah, just try everything. Do
Yeah,
things
you
in ways
just
you don't
try,
normally
you
think it
learn,
in.
you make mistakes.
Mm.
You're not afraid.
Yeah.
Like I'm okay with somebody coming to me and being like, "Look, Adrian, you could do all these things in Unity. You were wrong." And I'll be like, "Cool. That's awesome. Teach me."
Yeah.
Right? Because
Hmm.
that's the thing. I would love to be much better at Unity and it make more sense to me because, well, I could help more people out. But I only know what I know. I can only do what I can do. And at the end of the day, can't really do much about that. All I can do is just practice, make mistakes.
Mm.
And when you think of it that way, it's like, well, I mean, shit, yeah, I could be mad at myself and be like, oh, you could be better, you could be smarter. But at the end of the day, I'm just beating myself up.
Yeah. You can't beat yourself up into being better.
Yeah. And I'm definitely not going to get there if that's how I'm going to treat myself.
Yeah.
And it's not to say that I mean, it's real easy to be hard on yourself. Um, but you got to give yourself that space. You got to give yourself that opportunity to just accept.
Hmm.
You don't have to be the best. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be all of these things. Just allow yourself to grow. You'll figure it out over time. So I've imported in our Bomberman. And you can see here, I have this eye low, and that eye goes in and out, right? In and out. And that is that morph target that I had set up. So what I want is I want both of them. This one and that. So I'm going to grab this here, move that into that group, file, game exporter. It's going to pull up my little game exporter. I'm going to make sure that skinning and blend shapes are turned on. I'm going to export this out again. I'm going to re-import this in, and I should have both of those. Don't done something wrong. So I've done something wrong. And this is why I want to test these parts, because I don't often get to do this. So it's parts that I'm not always the most familiar with. So maybe I need to have these both selected in here. Export. Let's give it a shot again. And the reason why I'm doing it this way is because I don't want to spend a ton of time making all that stuff if I don't even know how to fucking use it, right?
Yeah.
Like, that would just be a waste of my time. And so, this is a low-bearing way for me to just kind of take a look and go, okay, what am I doing wrong? If I can get one working, then the chances get higher of me being able to replicate that across the board, right?
Yeah, I was just doing that with in Unity with the character I was working on and
Hmm.
trying to like get everything, trying to like edit a character, but then like re-import it in while also keeping all this stuff and then like transforming the blend shapes and materials to the same to the model, even though I made changes to the model. So like figuring that out. It looks like the blend shape has it goes all the way to -1, which
Yeah, that's just what Unreal does.
yeah, which isn't what we have in. So it looks like
Yeah,
it's working as you
it
want it
is
to.
working on one, but it's not working on.
It's not importing the other.
It's not importing the other.
The
So I think the reason that is because it's not a part of the actual mesh.
you can try deleting the eyes,
So
and then
maybe.
you can try just exporting out with only those selected. See if they even export in the first place. That's how I would like break it down, I guess.
Not a bad idea. Default. I think I'm going to try this. So I'm going to now add as target. Scale this down. I'm going to see if this comes back up. That's because I feel like we're getting close. Okay, that's what it was. I was doing everything right. I was just being stupid. So, okay, I'm gonna walk you through what I've done so you can kind of match what I have. And then from there, probably call it. So, what I've done, I've got my two eyes, right? I'm gonna take my eyes and I'm gonna put them in the group with my game character, right? So they're all in that same group.
Mhm.
And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit the space bar. I'm gonna go in this front view, and I'm gonna come up to the top left, and I'm gonna change it from modeling to rigging. And this is gonna allow me to add a bone. So I'm gonna go to the little rigging tab in the shelf, and there is a joint, create joint. Just gonna hold X, and I'm gonna hit it right there in the center, so that way I have a bone there. With that bone selected, I'm going to control left click on that group, and that's gonna select all of those. I'll come up here to skin, and I'll bind skin. So now, if I move that joint, it moves all of the meshes, right? Because they are now bound to that one joint. Now, we'll probably have to come back and redo some work because we need a skeleton, right?
Yeah, it
But
makes
for now,
sense that it's based off of a rig for it to
yep,
all work properly. Hmm.
yep. And so now we're just kind of mimicking that.
Yeah, because we would
So,
have this rigged, but you were like, yeah, we're avoiding rigging this until
yeah,
later down the
well,
line.
yeah, for now, because we want this is the big thing, right? We want to figure this out. Because the rigging part, we're pretty sure we can do. It'll take some time, but we could do it. But this part, we're not sure. So let's go ahead and troubleshoot it now. So that way we don't feel like we wasted a ton of time later down the road, right?
Hmm. Okay, so to add a
Let's go.
bone. How do I do it?
Well, hold on. I'm not
Oh,
done just yet. So
oh.
and I'll walk you back through all of this. But then I'll select both of them, create those blend shapes, right? I'll go into face mode, and then I'll add my target for this. I'll move my pivot while in face mode.
Hmm.
So this way I can scale that back into the head. Then it not work because I fucked up again somewhere. It's the portion I really, really hate. Okay, blend shape. And target. Scale that. Bring that back up. Okay. So with the other eye selected, I'll go into face mode. I'll make sure to select all my faces. I will create a blend shape. I will right click and add it as a target. Hit D, hold X to snap this back. Hit D again to reset that pivot, and then scale that down. And that effectively does the job, right? So now we essentially have a skeleton, even though we don't have one. And we have our blend shapes. So now if I select the joint and the group, and I export this out with blend shapes and skinning on, go back to Unreal here. Import in this one. Done everything correct. We should have. We still fucking don't. Jesus Christ. I do not know then. Why is that not adding the other one?
If you delete the eyes, can you even export it in the first place?
Well, it's just not pulling in this one. It's pulling in the other one perfectly fucking fine. It just doesn't want to pull this one in. delete this other set. Let's see if that fucking. Okay, something funky's going on. Because those eyes didn't even come in. And still the other one, even though I deleted them.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. Most of it was happening. So like, it must be. It was like it's not even something that you're doing. It's just like the eyes aren't just importing in correctly. Anyway, even if you didn't even have
Yeah.
certain shapes.
You are correct. Oh. It's because I'm exporting to the wrong place.
Ah, there you go.
So I probably had it right the whole time. It was just pulling in the wrong one because I'm big dumb.
Yeah, I hate doing that.
Big dumb Blastoise. Big dumb Blastoise.
Eh,
Yeah, there we go. There we go. Alright, so
I don't even need the bone, I
should.
guess. Should just have the animations then.
Well, no, I need the bone because Unreal requires if object's gonna have morph targets, they need to be a skeletal mesh.
Ah, I gotcha. So the bone needs to be there.
So, but I should be able to go back. Just like that and that. Make sure I'm exporting this to the right fucking place for once. That motherfucker out. Import that song bitch in. Open this motherfucker up. Goddamn, we got 2 eyeballs there, good sir. We fucking done it.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's what I'm talking about. So the nice thing with this is what we can do is in the skeletal mesh, we've got our morph target previews, but we have these curves over here. And if we add a curve, let's say morph I, we can add a morph, say that it's applicable as a morph target. And should be able to save that. Bring this motherfucker into scene. And if I add him to the sequencer, should be able to pull those blend shapes. Bless you, Keycat. don't remember how to do this part. But I know I'm able to get them in here. I just don't remember how.
Why do you not have an ad blocker?
Yeah, I can see that guy's doing it. Oh, he's using a different blueprint. I know we don't have to do it that way. Yeah, I don't remember how to do it, but we're close. We're close. The nice thing is Brandon Barndles, he knows how to do it. So I just have to ask him tomorrow. He showed me it once, and I just don't remember because I've not had to ever do it again. But I know we can add it as that curve, and then we can call that curve. Maybe it has to be in a blueprint. That sounds familiar. Damn. I really don't remember. Oh well. Well, this is the part I said. This is why I was like, well, I might be doing some of this offline and stuff like that because I don't really know the process here. So it'll be less of me like, do this, do this, do this, do this, do this, right?
Mhm.
And now it's more like, well, we're gonna try this. We'll try this. We'll try this. Pretty sure it was something like that though. See, add a curve. Make it to where you can do that.
You're just gonna be you're just setting up. Like, what are you trying to do?
Morph curves. Oh, I see. The curve has to have the curve has to have the same name as the morph target. Still can't. Fuck. Oh, well, I don't know. I don't remember. But we'll figure it out. I mean, it's not that hard. I know it's not that hard. I've seen it done. I just don't remember.
It's such a labyrinth trying to find where a thing is. Technically, like how to get to it. That's so weird. Because usually it's just,
Well, it's not really a thing that I do a ton, so that's
yeah.
why, like I said, it'll be a little bit more messier moving forward, but that's okay. We're learning together. close. So that's, I think, where we'll end it tonight. So I would just hold off. I'm gonna do a little bit of exploring, and I'll just kind of update you as I figure things out. But really, we're just looking at, I mean, it sounds like you know the workflow too. So from here forward, we just got to figure out what that actually looks like, which is, taking all of these different shaped eyes, getting them to scale into the head and out of the head, um, being able to trigger all those morph targets separately, and then having all of those import in properly into Unreal, have all of them be able to be used through like animation curves, and then be able to be triggered in sequencer.
Yeah.
The nice thing is I have lots of people who can help us on this, so we will not be completely lost. I've got one friend named Eli, who they are like, this is their whole job. They're a technical animator. So they will easily be able to help us. I've talked to them about this, and they were excited for when we got to this point, and to let them know when we needed help. So tomorrow I will be banging on their door. So I don't think we'll be stuck here super duper long. I'm missing something, and I don't remember what that tiny little thing is, but it is definitely a small thing. I remember that much. Because I think I did this the last time too, and I was like, "How do I do this?" And then they were like, "Oh, did." I was like, "Oh yeah, yep, that was it."
Yeah.
So that being said, I'm done for the night. But we got a lot done, dude. Like, we're effectively like at, you know, the like final 2 stages. So we'll figure out the morph target stuff, and then once we got that locked in, we'll build all the other meshes out, and then we will prep our model for the skeleton and weight painting. We'll get all of that set up. We'll get that thrown into Unreal. We'll learn how to make our own control rig in Unreal so we can animate in there. And we'll hook up all our blend shapes. And at that point, it'll just be like cool posing, have some fun like facial animation stuff. And we've already got our lighting, we've already got our rendering process done. So really, it'll just be like getting it all finalized.
Yeah, to finally finalize everything.
Yeah. And then after that, we'll just rinse and repeat. We'll do the same thing, but we'll just make a custom skin, right, for our Bomberman, and that will get you moving in the direction that you're wanting, right? Because that's what you want to do. Well,
That'd be
you don't want to make
awesome.
skins for Bomberman, but you want to make skins for games that you enjoy.
Yeah, I'd love to make a portfolio of just that. Yeah. Of just
Yeah.
like cool monsters, creatures,
Hmm.
especially from games that I like, or just it doesn't even need to be just for games, just like any type of like make fan art. It'd
Yeah.
be even cooler if I can make OCs, but I'll just start out with fan art. 'Cause,
Yeah. Well, I see nothing wrong with either. I think both have their good things, and so you're definitely definitely on a good route forward. The nice thing is Bomberman's a pretty recognizable character too. So you having different skins, right? And the original model, and it being animated, rigged, textured, um, and you got all of your cool morph targets and stuff. That'll be a really big like step forward.
Hmm.
So homework for you, right? Because that's what we're gonna kind of do from here on. Because I have a lot to learn on this portion as well. So we're gonna be doing this together. So, like I said, it's kind of shifted from me teaching you to we're going to figure this out together. And when we find something out, we'll tell each other and we'll learn together. Okay. And it's really only for the rigging portion of this because that's something I don't really ever do. So I'm a newbie just like you. And I think that you have in some areas more experience in that than I do. And I think there are some portions of that where I have more experience in that than you do, even though I don't do it often. But I'm still exposed to it.
Mm-hmm.
So, um, really, homework is just to start learning about building a skeleton in Maya, making morph targets in Maya, right? I'm pretty much going to be doing the same. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it. And come next Monday, we'll tackle this again. We'll give ourselves 3 hours, and we'll see what we can get done.
Mm.
Cool.
Yeah, man. Any other time you want to meet this week, or it's just Monday?
Um, I I think I'm mostly available this week, so there's probably definitely going to be some times. But I'm also ramping up for that other project that's in the Mississippi server. So, because they're wanting to build a game in Unity, they already have an online thing going. I don't know if you've kept up with any of the updates, but they have a build. So I'm testing those with them. They're building out concepts. They've got a character. They've got a couple of other small characters. They've got some weapon designs. They've got a multiplayer lobby, and it's online and it does work. A chat room. I think they're holding off on the VR stuff right now. They're trying to figure out all the online multiplayer stuff. So I'm gonna jump into that. So my time will definitely be a little bit more split,
Mm.
because I want to put effort into that too.
Yeah.
But you're welcome to join that. We can always take a break on these things. And you
Yeah,
can,
I'm down to work with you with other things. You don't just need to work on this. That's kind of my goal is to work with you on a ton of different things and not just
yeah,
the one thing all the time, you know?
yeah. The other thing that I'm working on is I'm trying to wrap my head around motion warping and motion matching in Unreal.
Yeah, that one project you showed,
Um,
like,
yeah, dude, I've found so many cool things. Like, there's some fucking sick shit that makes like like AAA modern games and stuff like that making so much sense how they do certain things. I'm like, oh, I had no idea this was a thing.
yeah.
So I'm actually learning some really cool stuff. The only problem is I'm just not good at animation. I don't really understand it. I don't really know that workflow.
Mm-hmm.
And nobody really ever gives me an opportunity to really get into it. They just want me to be amazing at it, and I'm like, that's not gonna happen.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like, there's some really cool examples, so I'm looking into that. Like, I figured out how to do like a soft land and a hard land in Unreal.
Mm-hmm.
So like, if you run off an edge and you fall, but it's like not that far, it's a soft land. But if you run off an edge and it's a longer drop and you kind of land harder, and then I've even learned how to make it where like I have more options. So I could have like a soft land where you just kind of like touch the ground, you can keep running, a hard land where you kind of stop for a moment and then you keep running, and then maybe a larger, harder land where you do like a roll. Um, and then I could even do something as cool as like maybe it's a really long fall and it's like a superhero drop.
Hmm.
And so I'm figuring out how to blend those animations to that state, and build that logic out. I'm also learning the motion warping, which is really cool. It's essentially how like most like games do their like action sequences for characters. So if you have like a combo, you're swinging a sword around, you're God of War, and you're having a dynamic fight with an enemy, and they grab your weapon and you grab their weapon, like it's motion warping. It's really cool. There's a lot of logic that goes behind it. So those are the parts that I'm like, I don't really understand, but I'm slowly trying to get there. But essentially, I'm going to try to figure out how to be like, oh, okay, how to wall run across something, and go from point A to point B. How to, like, when you make a certain jump, you'll land on the pillar and you'll be able to walk across the beam or something like that. That's all like motion warping.
Hmm.
So that's stuff I'm kind of slowly looking into on my end, because I would like to have a really strong example of a 2.5D platformer for Tulsa game developers. I'd like to have something new for that project because I don't feel like I really ever get to invest a ton of time in that. And it's something I'm really passionate about. I want people to make more games, or at least die trying. Emphasis on the die.
Uh,
So yeah, I mean that's something I'm working on as well. And at some point, it would be fun at some point to get back around to a couple of projects of mine that I started. I have this little jellyfish guy that I was working on from a game series I really like. And I've got them all modeled out. I just don't have the fur on him. And recently, I've learned how to make hair cards, which is a huge fucking deal. And it's in Blender, so that's cool. Um, and usually I use just grooms, but they're always so expensive. So it's kind of tough because if I want to like upload that to something like Sketchfab or something like that, I can't because they don't accept grooms. So now I can do that because I can make hair cards. So I'm like, oh yay, that'll be fun. And then I've got another project on the side, which is my little bestiary, which I started a long time ago, but I've been really itching to get back into it
hmm.
because I love bestiaries. Love just having a like encyclopedia of what the monsters are, and you could see them in like different scenarios and lightings, and it detail like, oh, you know what this monster does, and you know its whole like ecology and living. So I got a lot of projects, um, that I kind of just bounce around when I get the freedom to do so. Um, but a lot of those I'm not like actively working on, so they don't really take a lot of my time up. But the Unity thing in you is pretty much my priority right now.
Hmm. Okay.
So throughout the week, if I'm up to it, I'll let you know. But at least Mondays, we know those will be the days we hit. Um, this is something I'm pretty like, I've been wanting to kind of learn more about this in general. And it also helps me with the other things that I kind of talked about. So I'll probably be spending a lot of time just doing researching throughout the week. And once I kind of understand how to tackle something or approach something, I'll let you know.
Okay.
But really, bro, I don't have a lot of experience with like control rigs and stuff. I have a lot of experience with blend shapes, but not setting them up, just making them.
Yeah.
Because like the one thing I don't know how to do is like how we make one blend shape communicate to another blend shape. So if like, oh, we turn on the happy face, we turn off the face that was previously active. But Eli does know. And so this will be a good opportunity for me to learn. And I might even have them join a call with us and they can just like walk through the process. So we can I'll like record it and we'll just have that for us.
Hmm.
So I'm not super stressed about this. I think we're gonna keep moving forward pretty smoothly. Um, I really try not to think of it as like, oh, it took us a couple months to get this done or something like that. Because really the thing is it really didn't take us a couple months if we look at how much time we've actually spent on it, right? Time passed is a different thing, but that's a little bit of an unfair thing because you weren't working on it the entire time. And I know that you're probably feeling like you're in a rush to get through these things because the sooner we can get through all this, the sooner you can start doing the things you want to do and stuff. Um, but also, this is going to be a long process, like just in general, because we're gonna, like I said, after we're finished with this version, we're gonna do a scanned version, right? And then after that, we're doing a mask because that was something you wanted to do. And so that'll give us some time to practice a little bit more of our sculpting abilities. Um, and then after that, we're making the mascot for Tulsa Game Developers. And then after that, we're kind of freed up. We're a little bit more open to kind of look at what we want to do. But if we're only meeting up Mondays for 3 hours, it's gonna be that's gonna be a bit before we get to that point, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
So I encourage you, to keep practicing these skill sets. If you want to go and make another character while you're waiting in the meantime, you're more than welcome to do so. I can't stop you from doing that. What I would really like is if that is something you do want to do. Um, I think really just kind of stick to the kind of quality, style, and approach that we're doing with this character, so that you're rinsing and repeating the information I've been given to you, and you're not focusing on new elements because really practice makes perfect, right? I want you to iterate this, iterate this, iterate this. If you go to college, right, and you go to college for like art, that's what they're going to have you do, right? They're going to just have you keep repeating things over and over and over again. That's why they give you homework, right? They're going to be like, "Oh, hey, I want you to draw 50, thumbnails." And you're going to draw 50 thumbnails, right? Of probably the same subject. And there's a reason why. It's because, well, we, just doing it once doesn't mean you've mastered it. Even if you got good notes, it still doesn't mean you're good at it. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So overall, before I go, how are you feeling about all this so far? I
That's
really
cool.
want you to be like honest with me here because if you feel like it's going too slow or if you feel like there are certain things that you still don't quite understand, I want you to be open with that because I want to figure out what pacing we're at with this and figure out how best I can help you.
Uh, I probably would say that it's a little slow, but like at the same time, I feel like I struggle with this a lot, so I'm gonna be moving slow anyway. Uh, I've been doing this a lot in Blender and with Unity, so like all of this is pretty similar.
Hmm.
Um, it's nothing like new I never done before. It's just cool that like in Maya there's tools that make it. uh a lot easier to do certain things.
Yes,
Um,
certain
I
things, right?
mean, yeah, I mean, like nothing we've done is like special or extremely unique. But
Hmm.
there are some tools that make it a lot that make the workflow faster and a bit easier here and there. Because a lot of this stuff is like stuff that I do for fun that I like to like learn how to do for like characters and do it a lot for the models that I'm learning to do for like VR chat and just talking to other people who just pretty cool stuff. So it's pretty cool. And like I'm getting into like making my own characters in general. Oh, this is just nice. I always wish it was faster, you know. Wish I was better at it. Wish I could like sit here all day and do all of this. Just figuring out like a schedule that's good for me to like do everything I want to do and that mainly just been it's been Blender, Unity, and then like talking to people. Just been uh just doing life stuff. I don't know. I don't know, man. Just figuring it out.
Fair enough.
Yeah, it's just trying to get just been practicing a bunch in Blender and Unity. And then usually with Maya and Unreal is whenever we get on call is when I touch it.
Hmm. Well, and that's what I'm saying, right? Is that like continue to like I know that currently you really like Unity and the Blender workflow, and I say continue to explore that. But don't shy away from these other things too, right? I think the biggest struggle is that you're like, oh, I want to learn these things, I want to learn these things, but you're always going to the applications, like the two applications that I don't really have a lot of experience with. So it's really hard for me to help you, right?
Yeah.
And I think the thing that I really hope you understand is that even now, when you're working in Maya and Unreal, right? And some of the things that we were talking about and exploring, you were like, oh, that's pretty similar, actually.
Hmm.
Oh, that's not that different. Oh, here's some cool things that I think actually is a little better.
Yeah.
And that's cool, right? There's definitely some things you're like, oh man, why does it have to be this way? Like, it's so much easier in this application that I love. And that's fair, that's fine. But the thing is that like it's really not that different.
Yeah. So I not
Like,
shy away and be more comfortable with like doing the thing in here. They're very
yeah,
similar.
but
Yeah.
also just being more comfortable in these applications because these are the ones I can actually provide you with. Like, I can provide you like 30 applications. You just want the two that I don't do.
Huh.
And like that's fine, but I'm not your guy.
Yeah.
Right? If that's the case, you need to branch out. You need to find more people that use Blender and Unity.
Yeah.
And I've tried to hook you up with those people. And I've also, referred back to Tulsa game developers with the Unity group and stuff like that. So, you know, those are things that you'll have to kind of pursue on your own.
Yeah. Very much so that I'm pursuing that. And it's not that big of a deal. It's like very much like Maya Unreal Engine is like more like professional. And then like that's the way I see
Well,
it. And like you
I
Blender
don't
and
think
Unity
that is
stuff is
that
just
case.
like I'm just like that's stuff that I just enjoy for hobby stuff and like Maya and Unreal is like me doing stuff that's more professional for more for like a portfolio and stuff.
Well, I think they can be both because the thing is that like I definitely don't want to give you the impression that Unity isn't like a professional workflow. Because by all means it is.
Yeah, that's true.
Um, like
Yeah, I give me that impression.
I mean, like the thing is that like Unity holds like I want to say like a good 55% of the gaming market. Like there's so many games that get produced and made by Unity.
Hmm.
So like it is a hugely adopted engine, and people absolutely use the shit out of it.
Hmm.
So don't shy away from, you know, using the engine, and don't shy away from, you know, pursuing it, because it's definitely like it's a phenomenal engine, man. It is a phenomenal engine. I know I have spoken somewhat negatively towards both Blender and Unity of like my experience, but that's just because I'm fucking stupid and I don't understand them very well. If I
Understandable.
had more time and experience to really dive into them, I would probably enjoy them a lot more. It is not that they are bad applications, and I definitely don't think that. It's just that I just don't understand some of the concepts, or their terminology. It's like, if I know all the languages in the world, but I don't know Spanish and English, and I go to the US and everybody's speaking Spanish and English, I'm gonna be like, bro, this country's weird to me, right?
Hmm.
But it doesn't mean that they're not great languages and they don't teach you stuff. It's just I'm having a hard time learning them.
Yeah.
I'm not very proficient in them. Um, which is why I've taken on the Unity project, because I'm excited to jump back in. I'm hopeful that, some things will connect with me. It's been, a few years since I've really dived into Unity. I've always used Unity for 2D stuff, and I really loved Unity for 2D stuff. It was like it's phenomenal. But when it came to 3D, it was just like, man, I could just do all this in Unreal at like 100 times faster, because it just made sense to me. But I've learned a lot of concepts since then. So I'm super hopeful that this Unity project will go super well, and that I'll have a lot of fun. And I'm hopeful that you'll join us, um, because I know how much you love, doing stuff in Unity. I know how much you like the VR stuff, and this seems really cool that it's all kind of synced up and it's an asymmetry, or asymmetrical
Yeah. A
multiplayer
lot of
game. Like
stuff
this
is.
is all the stuff that you talk about.
Yeah. So
So I
it
would
is
really
really
love for
cool.
you to be a part of it.
And definitely want to be. Definitely want to be.
But okay, man. Um, well, I think you're doing a good job. I think we've done a great job. I think we've gotten through a lot. One thing I need you to do, right? So your homework was, just to start exploring and learning about, skeletons and Maya, skin weights, morph targets. But
Yeah,
I also
adding
need
torrent
you
and stuff. Development.
to take those renders that we did today, and I need you to post them in the Mississippi project, and I need you to post them in Tulsa Game Developers. Can you do that for me?
What, all of them?
Yeah, put your renders in there. The ones that you like, put your renders in there. I want like 3 or 4. And I want you to say, this is a work in progress, but I'm making Bomberman.
Mm. uh, there's,
Are you doing that for me?
yeah, trying to.
Good.
Wait, to put in the general?
Of what?
Mississippi or art in
Art.
Mississippi?
Art in both Tulsa Game Developers and Mississippi.
That look good. Uh, something like that. Sure, there you go.